The history of red velvet cake. In the world of desserts, few confections captivate the senses quite like the iconic red velvet cake. Its deep crimson hue, velvety texture, and luxurious cream cheese frosting evoke a sense of elegance and indulgence. Yet, behind this seemingly modern cake lies a rich and complex history, one that intertwines culinary trends, scientific discovery, and a bit of mystery. To explore the history of red velvet cake is to unravel a tale that spans decades, crosses continents, and reflects the evolving nature of American baking. Our story begins in the 19th century, long before the emergence of the vividly red cakes we know today. In the early days of baking, cakes were often dense, heavy, and somewhat coarse in texture. However, with the advent of new techniques and ingredients, bakers began experimenting with ways to create lighter, softer cakes. One of these innovations was the velvet cake, a term used to describe cakes that had a fine, soft crumb, making them smoother and more refined than their traditional counterparts. These velvet cakes were made using ingredients like almond flour, cocoa, or cornstarch to break down the protein in the flour, resulting in a cake that was delicate and tender. Velvet cakes of various flavors became popular across the United States, with chocolate velvet cakes being a particular favorite. This early version of the velvet cake was not the vivid red we now associate with red velvet cake, but it laid the foundation for what was to come. The introduction of cocoa powder to the batter added a subtle richness and helped create the soft texture that distinguished velvet cakes from other types of cakes. It wasn't until the early 20th century that red velvet cake began to emerge in a recognizable form, and it is here that the story takes a fascinating turn. In the 1920s and 1930s, as chemical leaveners like baking soda and baking powder became more common, bakers noticed something interesting. When cocoa was combined with buttermilk and vinegar, a chemical reaction occurred. The natural anthocyanin pigments in the cocoa reacted with the acidic ingredients, giving the cake a slightly reddish-brown color. While the color was subtle, it was enough to set red velvet apart from other chocolate cakes, giving it a unique visual appeal. During this period, the recipe for red velvet cake began to spread through home kitchens, particularly in the American South, where it became a beloved dessert. The cake's mild cocoa flavor, tender crumb, and distinctive color made it a popular choice for special occasions, from birthdays to weddings. However, even at this point, red velvet cake's signature hue was not as dramatic as the bright red versions seen today. Instead, it was more of a reddish-brown, a natural result of the chemical interactions between cocoa and acidic ingredients. The cake's history took another pivotal turn during the 1940s, thanks to a little-known company called the Adams Extract Company. Based in Texas, the company specialized in selling food colorings and flavor extracts. In an effort to boost sales of their red food dye, they began marketing red velvet cake as a way to showcase their product. The company published recipes for a bright red version of the cake, which called for a generous amount of red food coloring in addition to the traditional cocoa and buttermilk ingredients. This bold, vibrant red version of the cake quickly caught on, and the modern version of red velvet cake was born. Adams Extract's marketing campaign helped popularize red velvet cake across the country, and it soon became a fixture in bakeries, restaurants, and home kitchens. During the 1950s and 1960s, red velvet cake gained even more prominence, especially in the South, where it became closely associated with celebrations and Southern hospitality. Its striking appearance and luxurious flavor made it a popular choice for festive occasions, and it earned a reputation as a cake that was both elegant and indulgent. However, red velvet cake's story doesn't end there. By the 1970s and 1980s, the cake's popularity began to wane, and it slipped into relative obscurity for a time. Yet, like many iconic dishes, red velvet cake was destined for a revival. Its comeback was fueled in part by its appearance in popular culture, including its starring role in the 1989 film Steel Magnolias, where a red velvet armadillo cake became a memorable part of a Southern wedding. This moment in cinematic history helped reintroduce red velvet cake to a new generation, sparking renewed interest in the cake's origins and flavors. By the early 2000s, red velvet cake had experienced a full-blown resurgence, becoming a trendy dessert in bakeries, restaurants, and even upscale eateries across the United States and beyond. This revival was also linked to the growing popularity of cupcakes, with red velvet cupcakes becoming a particular favorite among dessert enthusiasts. The cake's rich color, combined with the tangy sweetness of cream cheese frosting, made it a visually striking and delicious option that appealed to both nostalgic cake lovers and a new generation of foodies. In this modern era, red velvet cake has taken on many forms, from the classic layered cake with cream cheese frosting to more inventive interpretations like red velvet donuts, cookies, and even red velvet lattes. Its association with luxury, decadence, and celebration has only grown stronger, and it remains a beloved dessert that is often served during holidays, weddings, and other special occasions. While the bright red hue of today's red velvet cake is often achieved through the use of food coloring, some bakers and chefs have sought to return to the cake's roots by using natural ingredients to create the signature color. Beetroot, for example, has been used as a natural dye in some recipes, adding a deep, earthy sweetness to the cake while also producing a reddish hue. This nod to the cake's origins in the natural reaction between cocoa and acidic ingredients is a testament to the enduring appeal of red velvet cake as a dessert that continues to evolve. Today, red velvet cake stands as a symbol of indulgence, celebration, and nostalgia. It has become a cultural icon, beloved not only for its flavor and texture, but also for the sense of tradition and history that it evokes. Whether served at a southern wedding, a holiday feast, or as a simple treat for an afternoon snack, red velvet cake has earned its place in the pantheon of classic desserts, a cake that is as rich in history as it is in flavor. As we slice into a piece of red velvet cake, we are partaking in a tradition that spans generations, a tradition that reflects the creativity of bakers, the influence of food trends, and the ever-evolving nature of American cuisine. From its humble beginnings as a simple velvet cake to its modern-day status as a beloved dessert, red velvet cake's story is one of adaptation, reinvention, and, ultimately, enduring popularity. It reminds us that even the simplest of ingredients, when combined with a bit of creativity and innovation, can create something truly extraordinary.